So check it out, YouTube. Demon Lords. We got the buddy, Bots. For those of you who don't know, Bots is the ultimate buddy for this deck. He's the best buddy for this deck. Play him for this deck. Um, Basically, what Demon Lord Bots does is he can be destroyed during your turn by card effects. Or he can be destroyed during your turn, period. So that's a plus side. He's still got the Bots effect going on. And then his other effect, which is the bread and butter of this deck, like it's really important. Oh, one sec. There we go. It's very important. So what you do is when he's in the center, you discard a card from your hand, and then you can call any size 3 Demon Lord from your deck by paying that card's call cost. He has natural or double attack, and he also has lifelink 2. Demon Lords, it's a thing, so it doesn't matter. So basically, of course, we're going to play 4 copies of this guy. That's the buddy. It's very important. He's everything about this deck. You want to open this guy. You want to play him. You want to be able to get him out there first turn to immediately start preparing, for your matchup. So that pretty much explains that. Everything that he does is basically calling your monsters so you can beat your opponent's face. Instead of going in order by monsters, I want to talk about one more important card in this deck, and that is, I can't remember the name, Demon Lord Castle in the Sky, Sasuke Palace. You play 4 copies of this card. This is another just very important card. Main reason for that is because this card, first off, in order to cast this card, you take 2 Demon Lord from the drop zone and put it into its soul. This card, first off, reduces the gauge cost of any Demon Lord that's not called from your hand by 1 gauge. So whenever you use Bot's effect to call one of your monsters, you reduce that by 1 gauge. And yes, you can set more than one of these on the field, so eventually your cards do become free. When your center is open and counter speed, you're allowed to call a Demon Lord from this card's soul by paying that card's call cost. This is a very, very powerful card, folks. If you lose your bots and you have another bots in this card's center or in this card's soul, then you can call a bots to the center for your next turn, prepare for plays for that, or during your turn you can go ahead and just call into that. This just sets up so many different types of plays in this deck. It reduces the gauge cost, so you do need a lot of gauge to sell because potentially you can pay a lot of gauge in this deck, but because this card reduces the gauge, you can use that for other things. But it's just really good. I just wanted to go over this card as well as bots because these cards here are your base. These are your main core essentials. Like, you want these cards in order to go off. So you play 4 of each of those. Alright, so as far as monsters, I'm just going to start off with this little guy here, Chaos Blade Joker. So what Chaos Blade Joker does is he costs 3 gauge to call. You're not really going to be doing that. When he enters the field, he gives a card on the field, or a monster on the field, crit +1. And then also when he's discarded from hand, you can pay a life to call him without paying the call cost. So he's basically just discard fodder for bots, and then once you do that, you're allowed to be able to call him back to the field at the cost of a life, and you can give bots or whatever monster on your field an extra crit. So it just kind of provides that extra damage output, because every monster in this deck has double attack besides Chaos Blade Joker. But that extra, double attack with like penetrate or anything like that is just going to be really a lot of pressure on your opponent. So you just play this guy at 3. You don't really want to maximize it. You don't want to play less. I mean, if you don't play the card at all, you don't play the card at all. But you don't want to maximize it just because you're not gonna have it for any other reason besides discarding. So yeah, that's the only size 0 in the deck. That's the only size anything that's not a 3 in this deck. So everything else is a size 3. Next up, 3 copies of the very important what is his name? Interstellar Great Demon Lord Jackknife. This card is amazing. I love Jack. So he's a size 3, 725. You pay 2 gauge, put a card from your drop zone into his soul. If when he attacks, if you have 2 or more soul in him, then he gains double attack and penetrate for the turn. Here's the catch. At the start of the attack phase, you can take a card from your drop zone and add it either to your soul, or to his soul, or to your gauge. So gauge a cell or soul buff. This card is clutch. Oh my goodness, it's so good. I just love being able to like immediately go for the, you pitch Cast Blade Joker, go into this guy with the Bots' effect, call your Cast Blade Joker, give this guy a crit. So now he's going to end up, at the start of your attack phase, you take a card from drop, add it to his soul, and now all of a sudden you have a 3 crit double attack with penetrate. Just pressure, pressure, pressure. This is a massive beatdown deck. It's crazy. This card being able to sell your gauge is really good. He does have natural soul guard, of course, and no lifelink, so losing this guy doesn't hurt. He's just really powerful, and I love this card to death. He's one of your essential plays. That's why you main this, or you play this guy at 3. If you play him at more, that's fine. Just remember, you're able to search out this card, with Bots' effect. Pretty much everything in the deck you're going to be searching out with Bots' effect. But it's just a really powerful card. He's just insane, mainly for those reasons, as well as being able to sell your gauge. So that was the only other monster that's going to be 3 cards or more. All the other monsters in the deck are going to be 2 cards or less. I'm playing 1 copy of Hazard Dragon Emperor God of Guamer. If you all have seen my top 8 with God of Guamer, or with Demon Gato, then you saw that I was playing this guy. He is a dual world monster. He's Danger World and Dungeon World, as you can see. So he's really good in this deck too, since he's a Demon Lord. He has double attack, soul guard, and lifelink too. You can pitch a card from your hand, and when you do, you pop your opponent's left and right and give this guy a crit. So again, it's another discard Cast Blade Joker, get a crit, give him another crit if you want to, so he has a potential 4 crit. You can clear your opponent's center with Bots, and then just have God of Guamer come in with, swinging for a potential 8 crit. It's, again, everybody, this deck is just massive pressure on your opponent. It's really powerful. The being able to have versatility with all of your different monsters that you can have in this deck is really good. And I just really like God of Guamer, mainly, since he can clear your opponent's left and right, so those open center decks don't have a lot, to really, do anything with, especially if they're like playing movers or anything. You pop the mover out the way, have an open center. So, just playing 1 copy of him, you don't want to see him too much just because you want to be able to search him out. He's not a core central card, he's mainly a attack option, so that's why I play him at 1. 2 copies of the Gold Deity Demon Lord Ibuki. So Ibuki's pretty nuts too. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know what's going on with this camera. Alright. So what Ibuki does is he, when he enters the field, of course he only costs 1 gauge to call. When he enters the field by card effect, he pops a monster. If he does, then you burn your opponent's gauge by 1, and you deal 1 to your opponent. You'll see a lot of people playing this card at more than 2. I completely agree. You can. I like it at 2. When you have Sasuke Palace, you can play this guy into that soul. When your opponent gets rid of your Bots, then you can just call this guy to the center, pop your opponent's card, anything that's still left, that can attack, and then burn a gauge, burn them for 1. So it's a nice card to use. Every now and then you can use it to call with Bots, just to kind of clear problems. But I like the card. He's pretty safe at 2. He's a 7/2/6, so he's got pretty good stats too. He's got some pretty good clearing power. And of course he has the ambush effect, but right now in this deck there's no way for him to ambush. So his main thing is just being able to be called off Sasuke Palace and Bots. So play the guy at 2. Pretty strong, pretty strong. There was a controversy debate with this card. 2 copies of Decruzar. Basically what this guy is, when he enters the field, you can take a Destruction or a Demon Lord from your drop zone and add it to your hand. A lot of people don't play this guy, some people do. It's not a bad card to play, and it doesn't really matter if you don't play this card. I like him because potentially you can search out your shield from your drop zone, and then when you do, you can add that to your hand and you have another shield. You call this off Sasuke Palace when you lose bots and just add bots back to your hand. It's just a nice little combo piece card just so you can basically recycle anything that's in your drop zone that you need for later. You can even take out another Sasuke Palace that was destroyed earlier. So I mean, it's just a nice little tech card for that. I played it too. I wouldn't play it more. If you played it at 1, it's understandable as well. Again, it's just a tech card. So 2 copies of the Cruzar. 2 copies of the Quintessence Crystal Demon Lord Athora. Athora is another really powerful card. In this deck, it's useful because when it's on the field, it reduces damage you would take by 1 by card effect. So penetrate damage reduced by 1. And this is only by your opponent's card effect. So, Hellish Shield and Exos, if they try and ping for 1, you don't take that damage. So Athora just kind of helps reduce some of the burn damage that you would take. And then monsters on your center, as well as your set spells, cannot be destroyed by card effects. So this card is to protect your Sasuke Palace and bots during your opponent's turn. I can't tell you how many times if I don't have a Thor on the field and somebody destroys my palace, it annoys the mess out of me. Because then you're sitting there like, crap, now I actually have to pay for my monsters. But it is what it is. That's why you play this guy. Especially when you know your opponent's about to destroy your palace or destroy bots during their turn. Just go into this guy. It'll save you so much time. Like, he's really powerful for that reason. He's a 7/2/7 double attacker. It does have Soul Guard, Lifelink 2. Again, guys, Lifelink's not that serious in this deck. Everything's like Lifelink 2, and there's another card that's going to reduce the damage, so we're good. You could play this guy at more than 2, but again, you have to remember, in this deck, everything is searchable. So, like, all your size, or again, everything's searchable, so you want to be able to have more than one option. It gives you a whole lot more tech options, in order to to be doing anything that you might need to do. Next, I played 2 copies of Bird Demon Lord Bladewing Phoenix. Another very powerful card. I almost bumped this card up to 3 or 4. It's so good. It's 10k swinging power, 2 crit, 1000 defense. The defense is irrelevant. It's got double attack, Soul Guard, Lifelink 1. So when this card attacks, you take a dungeon enemy, which is everything in your deck, every monster in your deck, and you put it on the bottom of your deck. Then you can destroy a monster on your opponent's field. This card is so strong. You can clear all kinds of fields. Like, you can attack into a monster with Soul Guard, pop it once, then hit it so you remove 2 soul potentially, or clear it. When it comes to Chaos, you attack their Chaos God, pop another monster, force them to destroy a monster that they didn't want to destroy with Chaos Drain. That's technically 4 pops, or 4 attacks in a way, with this card, and it's just so stupid. Like, I love it to death. Like, play this card at 4 if you want to, but it's a card that's searchable, so you don't want to overdo it. But I can see this card being played at 3, just so you don't have any problems with having both of them in the drop zone at the same time, because that is an issue. But other than that, it's a very powerful card to use. Definitely an essential card for the deck. And the last monster I'm playing is the Ice Dragon Demon Lord Maziria. So Maziria enters the field with double attack, Soul Guard, Lifelink 2. You pay 2 gauge, take a spell from the drop zone, add it to its soul. So the other effect that Maziria has that makes it so important in this deck is cards on your field cannot have their effects nullified. So with this, I want to make sure it's cards or is it monsters? All cards on your field, yes. So Style of Justice, Energia, all these cards that are nullifying your opponent's effects, you can stop that from happening. Because I'm telling you, when I played against Jack earlier, and it shut me down for a second, and I was like, how am I supposed to stop this? So I was able to, during main phase, I was able to call in a Maziria and actually have attacks, because everything on your field is going to have double attack. If you can't double attack, you're going to be screwed. If you don't have your effects, you're going to be screwed. So this is just an important card to have in the deck. Mainboard it at 1 if you don't really think you want to use it at 2. But I just think it's really powerful at 2, just so you actually see the card, in some way, shape, or fashion. So it's a powerful monster, very powerful monster. Get you out of some tight situations. Oh, forgot about this guy. So I play one impact or two copies of the impact monster, the Cruiser. Was it Demon Lord Knight or whatever? So you call this guy on top of on top of a Demon Lord, and you pay 3 gauge. Then you're allowed to call a monster from your hand by paying the call cost. I'm sorry, without paying its call cost. That card becomes a size 0, just like the bots effect. And then that card can attack during final phase. So with this card, you essentially get another 3 attacks during your final phase. You get 1 attack off him, and then anything that you're going to call is going to have double attack. So obviously, that's 3 attacks in that final phase, just to push for extra damage. It's kind of overkill, but the potential in this deck, it's easy to pull off, and it's actually not a problem. It doesn't clog or anything like that. So I like it. I wouldn't play it more than 2 probably. I can see 3, but I would probably leave it at 2. So yeah, that's 2 copies of the Impact Monster, the Cruiser. Alright, that's 100% it on monsters. Items, 3 copies of Growlithe Wand. So you pay a life to equip this card. So it's really nice little cost. You can rest it and get a gauge. So it's got the Ice Spear and Legend Worlds effect. So nice there. And then it reduces lifelink by 1. So basically you only take 1 for the lifelink damage from your monsters, which is good. You don't want to be taking more than that. But basically just gauge yourself for the deck and reduces the lifelink damage. Only needed at 3. You can use the Cruiser to bounce it back to your hand if you need to, and if it's in your drop zone or anything like that. It's not an essential card, but it is a very powerful card to use in this deck. Alright, so I went over the Palace already, just to kind of go over some basic stuff. So you want to play 4 copies of Demon Lord's Invasion. Basically the search spell for Demon Lords. You pay a gauge, search your deck for a Demon Lord monster that's not an impact monster, so you cannot search Impact the Cruiser off this card. But you pay a gauge, search for a Demon Lord, add it to your hand, so you can search the bots. That's the main thing that you're going to be searching. Sometimes you can search Chaos Blade Joker since he is a Demon Lord, just to kind of get his effect off if you want to. But that's pretty much the main things that you're going to do. This just gives you 8 bots basically. Searching other Demon Lords you might just be able to use just to kind of pitch from hand to set up Sasuke Palace. It has other uses, but your main goal is going to be searching out your bots if you don't open it or anything. So 4 copies of that. Next, we're going to be looking at 4 copies of the Demon Lord Shield, which is Abominable Ritual. So if your Demon Lord's being attacked, you nullify the attack, get a gauge and a life. Good gauge of sell, good life gain. Really nice card to use, especially when your opponent's going to be link attacking. Well, depending on what you're up against, a lot of times your opponent's going to link attack, to get through your monster, or even some single attacks you want to stop. But that's just that's the shield to use there. And then we also have Divine Protection of Shao Sana, the Dungeon World, nullify, pay a gauge, nullify the attack, gain a life. So those are your 8 shields in the deck. Alright, so next I'm playing 2 copies of Dragon Blessing. With this spell, this is an Ancient World, Dungeon World Guardian spell. During your opponent's turn, it's the only time you can activate this card, but you pay a gauge, nullify the lifelink of all monsters on your field, and then return as many monsters as you want back to your hand. This card is amazing. It's another shield technically. Your opponent's removed all soul of everything on your field, and then they attack into your bots, or try and wipe your field in some way, shape, or fashion. Just bounce everything back to your hand, and it basically allows you to restart on the next turn. You call bots, you discard whatever you want from your hand, and then just call another monster from drop zone. It's almost like a reset button for you in a way. It's a really powerful card. I just love using it, especially to save bots or anything like that, or even potentially have Sasuke Palace set up, have a bots in that, so bounce everything back to your hand, call the bots with Sasuke Palace, and then you can use the other bots in your hand or something else in your hand to use this discard fodder and just restart or start recalling monsters again. It's, like I said, it's just like a reset button. It's really powerful. I recommend it. Definitely want to play this card. Next, 2 copies of Magical Eyes Release. This is gauge itself for the deck. If you have a Demon Lord on the field, so that's Palace or Growlithe Wand or any monster, then you get 2 gauge and burn your opponent's gauge for 1. So it's really nice for that. Gauge a Cell, that's just stuff you need in the deck. Nothing too fancy. Last card in the deck is the most powerful spell I have seen to come out for Dungeon World in a while. 4 copies of Bonus Quest. This card is just, I don't even know how else to put it besides it's amazing. The cast cost is discard a size 2 or greater monster from your hand. Everything in this deck is size 2 or greater, other than freaking Chaos Blade Joker. So any monster you discard, it's fine. You do that, and then you get 2 gauge, you gain a life and draw 2 cards. The plus off this is just stupid. Like, it's crazy. The gaining a life, gaining 2 gauge, draw 2 is really powerful. It basically replaces itself and the other card, and then gives you +3 basically because you're getting 2 gauge and the life. It's just a really powerful card. Having like a size 3 in hand, like if your opponent's cleared your field and you have nothing but like 1 size 3 in hand, and you draw into this card, don't gauge and draw. You just play this, discard your card, you get 2 gauge, draw 2, and and a life, and then you call whatever monster that you probably ended up drawing. I can't tell you how many times during testing and stuff I was like, okay, I have nothing left. I had bots on field and that was basically it. I drew this, I had 1 size 3 in hand, I discarded the size 3, played this, get 2 gauge, draw 2 cards. I ended up discarding a Chaos Blade Joker, calling a new monster, called the Chaos Blade Joker. I called, what was it, Jack, and then I just swung twice with the Penetrate. It's the fact that this card can just give you anything you need. It's just stupid. Like, I can't explain how good this card is to anybody else besides it. Just if you don't agree, that you're crazy. Everybody in the world has been playing this before because it's just that powerful a card. So yeah, play Bonus Quest at 4. Play Bonus Quest because Bonus Quest is great. Yeah. So folks, that is the deck profile on my Demon Lords. There's gonna be more coming out, you guys. We got more stuff, more match videos, all that other good stuff coming your way, guys. Please like and subscribe. Please, please, please like and subscribe. Share our videos everywhere. Share them on your Facebook page, your Twitter page, your Instagram, everywhere. Just do it, because the more people we can get looking at these videos and stuff, the more we can get the Buddy Fight community growing. That's still the goal of Team Plays for Days, and it always will be. This is CJ at Team Plays for Days, guys, folks. We'll holla.